All right, should we get into some emails before we call it a day?
Sure.
All right. Ro writes, a few months ago, I played through the brilliant Lorelei and the Laser Eyes in its entirety, after which I then focused all of my gaming time and attention upon Blueprints. There was something intensely jarring about the stark difference in what each game asked of a player's external investment, so now I feel compelled to argue that Lorelei's photographic memory system should become the new genre standard for lore-centric puzzle solving. I can't immediately recall if any of you actually made it far enough into Blueprints to discover that it is not, as it first appears, a roguelike tile placer, and that room drafting is more or less a uniquely interesting design choice in how to alter a player's avenue for information discoverability. Many have said they used a notepad while playing Lorelei, but I found its recall system to be so absolutely serviceable that I fully completed it without a shred of note-taking nor meaningful outside assistance. I looked up only one location of a hidden collectible. I can in no way say the same for Blueprints, which straight up instructs you within the game to take external notes. I hated every minute I needed to jot something down and how clogged and disorganized my phone's camera roll became. It all seemed so wholly unnecessary and antagonistic in light of how friendly Lorelei's system was. I got so burnt out on the Blueprint's avalanche of clues, all of which must be kept externally and tracked, that I completely gave up in mid-game and simply followed a walkthrough to see all of the later, admittedly impressive but obtusely lore-gated reveals. I can't help but wonder if I'd have stuck it out on my own and earned a sense of satisfactory completion had the game met me halfway with a recall system to Lorelei. I do know I no longer want to have to take my own notes or screenshots anymore. I'm old, and my school days are long behind me. The only game I ever enjoyed taking notes in was Fez, but I had that experience well over a decade ago, and I was never looking to repeat it. Hell, even Outer Wilds, which I think is the pinnacle of the lore and logic genre, didn't really require any note-taking since its rudimentary
lore and logic?
ship logs.
Is that the genre?
That's the genre. Fuck yeah. Hell yeah, I'm in.
Since its rudimentary ship logs were enough to keep everything tied together and trackable. So I'm curious how you all feel about archaic note-taking methods as a potential player requirement in an otherwise more accessible and modern gaming era, especially given that many of you have a proclivity toward and find pleasure in note-taking for both professional and personal reasons. Also, can you think of other genre-evolving mechanics which made any subsequent genre entries without said mechanic feel inevitably inferior? Note, I do realize, given development timelines, the Blueprints team would not have been aware of Lorelei's recall system, but in hindsight, it just seems like it should have been common sense design all along. And going forward, I'll personally be hard-pressed to feel as invested in such lore and logic games lacking something similar.
Logic.
Signed, Ro.
Logic. I think the problem with Blueprints, because I definitely felt like, y'all could put some of this in a menu. Like, let's be so real. But at least notes or something. Like, you know, but I do think as far as the everything of it, like, there will inherently need to be note-taking for Blueprints because some of the, just making up, again, a fake example, if one of the puzzles ends up being, like, the colors of the mugs based on the rooms, that the whatever, like, you can't, if you gave a player all of an information piece, you're almost kind of spoiling what is needed for other stuff. So I do think I think you would always need note-taking in Blueprints, but I do agree that, like, something like the literal physical notes that you can interact with that are, like, always there, I think you should just have that. I think I should just be able to see the, like, I don't know, there's, like, a note in, like, the commissary that's, like, on Tuesday the 18th, it's half off. It's like, I don't think I should need to write that down. Like, I don't think this is, you know, groundbreaking stuff. But that's my light pushback on this could have all been integrated into the game because I don't think for Blueprints it could have. But I do wish they did more.
So I'll just say this: I love well-designed. This came up a little bit with Indiana Jones as well. Like well-designed player aids that are sort of generated within the game to sort of help you recall what you're doing and what you're up to. requires a great deal of craft and forethought, both in terms of like it becomes a layout challenge. How do you organize it? How much you're going to theme it, I think, becomes a question too. Like, is it basically just going to be the game generates a game facts list of things to keep track of? Probably not. Like in general, there's some sort of in-game way of theming the player aid, but it does require a lot of intent and forethought, and not everyone thinks about or organizes information the same way, right? Like the way I take notes might be different than the way you take notes. The things that help me put 2 and 2 together might look really different than what helps you put 2 and 2 together. So I have a lot of sympathy for like not undertaking that effort, because also there's a degree of presumption that like the way I'm going to lay out the information or reference later is almost like the way you should reference it. It can be helpful, but it can also be sort of confining, not letting you have your own relationship to that aspect of the puzzle solving. That said, external note taking is a challenge, because like literally for a man as rich with notebooks and tablets as I, you would not think blueprints would have posed any problems from this standpoint. And yet, there I am in my fucking iPhone camera roll and my notes app, all sorts of shitty little notes that I'm going to have to like reference back to later. Because the thing is, when I'm lying on my couch playing a game like Blueprints, I'm not going to sit up and like, all right, bust out the Moleskine, like take a bunch of notes. I'm going to be like, just wave the phone at the screen, tap some notes out, and then keep playing. There's kind of an ergonomic thing that comes with it. You know, if you're sort of just sacked out on the couch, you're probably not in like workspace mode. You maybe don't have your work tablet next to you. And so I think to a degree, like, as much as I love it, I'm always on the side of like Red Vern to the old ways. Like, yes, bring us back to the era where game manuals had a notes section that was like 20 pages long at the back that you feel guilty about.
It was like
marking
4
up.
pages long. There was nothing in there.
No,
like
no.
you had like
They never used that.
one save file for what, like Metal Gear did something with that. Like I don't know, but no, yeah. I mean, I think it's funny that you mentioned the ergonomic point, because Haley McLean over at MinMax, like one of my colleagues over there, she loves Lorelei, and always thought that the one button press on the one like if you played like, you know, like on Switch or whatever, it's like was so smart because you'd have one hand free to take notes with, which I do think is a cool use case. I did wish that the layout of those buttons were just different, but also I didn't get that far in Lorelei, so it didn't matter. But yeah, I think that's another interesting like angle that Lorelei also took in. Even though the person writing in said they didn't feel like they needed any notes for Lorelei, I do know a lot of people did use notes, and them kind of designing the inputs around that is also very interesting.
Also, so Ro did have a thing to, like, I cut this part because it was like, it's a long email, it was a good argument, but lore and logic games. Here's their proposal.
Oh, yeah.
It's intended to
Genre,
evoke
yeah, let's
genre
go.
and mechanics expectations in the same way point and click effectively does. But where the ages-old label often implies a dialogue-heavy narrative adventure full of, more often than not, completely illogical puzzles, lore and logic differentiates by requiring a much deeper and nuanced understanding of the game world in order to surmount the knowledge-based...
We're standing up. We're
I'm
standing up.
standing up.
Yeah, we're all, it's all,
To me, this
it's
label not only feels more innately understandable and relatable to my interests as a player, but also strikes me as retroactively applicable to many games stretching back to the Myst series and likely even earlier than that.
I was gonna say.
Can you have a point and click that's also lore and logic?
I mean, that's kind of Myst, right? Like, Myst is a... It's not a pixel
Allegedly.
hunting
Is it
point and
logical,
click.
though? Because
It's more.
people have
never
said Myst
actually
is a little
played
hard
Myst
to understand now. I don't know if it, like, did it feel like one of those where it's like, no, it all was clicking, or is it a little like, you do this thing and we just sensed it, but there's not really, you know, like...
We should play Myst.
We should play Myst.
It had that good remake. We should play it.
And then we should play Rivet.
Still haven't played
the
Golden.
sequel.
I literally know nothing
Still haven't
about
played
Myst.
Golden. I need to watch you.
I
two
just
play
know that
Golden
like
Idol.
you walk into like a mountain or something, right?
I feel like we can't play Golden Idol before playing Myst, though. That seems.
I feel like
I think
Golden Idol,
you're
we made-
chaining these games
Myst-
together unnecessarily.
Myst is like K2, though, is my understanding in terms of like
Yeah.
mountains you're summiting.
I want to get on there. I want to get on there then.
No, but K2 is the
I
one
wanna-
people
I
die
wanna-
on the most.
I know. I want to know though. I don't believe them.
Gotta touch
We're
the
gonna
point.
we're gonna climb
Can you
Everest.
show
God damn it.
me?
We're gonna
I
do Myst,
wanna
and
know
we're not
about
gonna
these
look anything up
strangers
ever.
like me.
All right. McIntyre writes.